Hey everyone, and welcome to the Gaming Corner podcast. Strong with this one, the nostalgia is. Let's talk about it. I'm your host, Jeff, and joining me today is Henry. Hey, Hen, how's it going?
Oh, delightful until I heard that awful fucking Yoda. So fucking
knowledge
bad.
is not
Jesus Christ.
knowledge strong not with this one.
All right, and our other Yoda guy joining us today, Daniel, aka Dance Warrior 777.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. Well, guys,
Welcome
I want to
to the
remind you
podcast.
guys that our podcast is available in video form on YouTube at Volatile Upgrade. Right now, my face cam is the only one going, but if you want to see my face for this episode, go ahead and check out Volatile Upgrade on YouTube. And but if the audio form of the podcast is more to your liking, you can check us out at the Gaming Corner Podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and a couple others. With that all being said, guys, it's good to have you here. Thank you for joining me for episode 12 of the Gaming Corner Podcast.
I heard there was free shrimp, cocktail shrimp.
Dude, we're
I don't
gonna
know
be in
about-
our teens next episode. It's gonna be crazy.
Right, this is the preteen episode.
Oh man.
I don't know if I can be here, guys. I'm sorry. I work with kids. This will damage our reputation too much.
Oh, jeepers. Well, guys, we are all significantly older than teenagers. We're all in our mid to late 20s. And being that old, we have some nostalgia for some
Sucks.
things.
Sorry,
So,
I'm
guys-
just laughing.
So, guys, today I want to talk about how much does nostalgia influence our gaming habits. So, like I said before, guys, we're all pretty old at this point. So, obviously we have something we're nostalgic for. Gentlemen, what games are we nostalgic for?
Old games.
Young games.
No, I mean, if you're asking for like titles, me personally, it's usually like Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario 64 for N64 stuff, and then Crash and Spyros are definitely another two biggies for me.
For sure. So the 5th generation of consoles we're talking then, mostly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are those games that you played as a kid or?
Yeah, 100%.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember having like my dad apparently really liked Super Mario 64 and
Relatable.
I was too young. Like I was too young to really understand video games, and I guess I was a real piece of shit, and I'd always erase his files, so he just stopped playing.
Sounds like
So,
you, Henry.
Yeah,
Sounds like you.
unfortunately.
Oh, what about you, Dan?
Well, in the same boat as Henry, as I'm getting the camera set up in the background, in the same boat as Henry, I used to rage quit, and when something would go wrong in some games, I would just restart the whole save file. So I understand that exactly, Hen. It's not perfect. It's not, I didn't get a perfect, no losing streak. Go back, restart the game, go forward.
It wasn't even that. I was like,
Oh my
I don't know, 3 or 4, and I guess enjoyed deleting the fucking save file from my dad, and that's it.
Henry just didn't want his dad to have a
I'm
save
mad
file.
at the game. It's more of a I didn't know what I was doing. I like clicking things, and it resulted in deleting stuff. there was no thought process there other than I enjoy this.
Yeah, oops.
I am smart boy. Yeah.
Well, Dan, what games are you nostalgic for?
Nostalgia. I'm a little bit in the nostalgia process. All right.
Continue.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm installing my web.
You're a bit in the
the webcam
nostalgia
wanted to
process.
update.
What does that mean?
So I have an interesting nostalgia process. I love games that conceptually are
Dan?
unique experience.
Oh, okay.
So I have games which are in my childhood, like Spyro, Sly Cooper. So basically Henry, but later on in life was my critical nostalgia years. But then after that, as I grew up and I went through college and whatnot, I found games that just resonated with me because their conception was beautiful. The Room to date, I have played that game on the night shift so many times. I could probably ace half of that game without even looking anything up, just speed run it. Because the room, when did I play the third game? Let me think. No, I played the second one back in high school because I remember, I remember playing it with some of my classmates. But I loved the room because it was shown to me by Sheila, who is a friend of the family that comes over some Thanksgivings to have dinner with us and hang out. And it's really interesting because the developer of the game wanted to make a general like horror game. You know, he wanted to make a scary game. And then he was going through the process and he's like, it's not going to work. You know, this isn't happening. And then he sits down to make a mobile app and he's like, well, what if we make a puzzle app? And the guy says, well, I like puzzle boxes, but we do have all these horror elements that we've just been leaving around. And the guy sat there and went, what if this box was containing like the ultimate like evil or the true understanding of what we don't know, like Pandora's box? And that is what you're opening, and that's the whole theme of it. And so they created a puzzle game that wasn't a horror game, but had a dark ambiance. And I fell in love with it, mainly because it just feels good to play. That's one of them. Monument
Valley.
Valley
You feel like a puzzle solver.
No, it doesn't make you feel like a puzzle solver. Some of those puzzles are hard, but what made it cool, okay, I could talk about the room and why I recommend anyone that does a puzzle game to have their mentality.
That game is incredibly fun, but is it nostalgic?
I continually keep going back to it and just remembering the days when life was calm and when things were simple. And I really do enjoy going back to play that simple puzzle game. Same with Monument Valley, a game in which your perspective decides what is actually there. Very beautiful artwork and just very thought-provoking. And it brings me nostalgia all the time of just being home, just sitting back and just enjoying the calm and the beauty of just what is there rather than worrying about what was going to come. So for me, those are very nostalgic. And I probably, throughout this podcast, have mentioned The Room thousands of times because it is my go-to OG. Monument Valley, this is the first time.
5.
In the 12 podcasts we've had, you've mentioned it thousands of times.
Yeah.
And then Monument Valley, this is my first time mentioning it on this podcast.
Yeah,
I love Monument Valley. And then there's always Monkey Balloon Tower Defense, but that's just...
It's hard to find a good tower defense game.
Right? And they kept going. So
and like, it's a weird thing to say like that, like a good tower defense game.
Like, it's a tower... It needs to defend.
It's a very simple concept, but like everybody just doesn't fucking do it right. Like I just want to place units. I want them to shoot things. I want to upgrade said units and be done with it. And the levels get harder and more intricate. That's it. Nothing difficult, but they still fuck it up.
Well, what's been trending right now is a sort of an evolution tower defense. Well, let me put it this way. It's a matching tower defense. So you summon your units. You summon your units randomly, and then you merge them together to make stronger versions of that unit.
What in the fuck do you mean random? No, we're getting off topic. This is not nostalgic. This is just fucking dumb, gimmicky tower defense bullshit. Fuck this.
Hey, we're just
stupid.
Well, we were talking about balloon tower defense, which
no, I'm done with it. I'm done talking about that.
I missed the balloons part. Balloons are
fuck you. Fuck you, piece of shit. You fucking go choke on a balloon.
Oh hell no! No.
Well, that's one something.
No.
Well, I guess I should go ahead and mention what games I'm nostalgic for. I like you
guys.
Let me guess,
Yoshi.
That's
Am I right? Yoshi.
You slut. Why would you take the win from his sales?
Yeah, what the heck, Dan?
He didn't guess The Room because you've talked about it 1,000 times.
Fair point.
But the problem is his name is Yoshi.
No, his name is
Jeff. Thank you.
His name is Jeff. My name Jeff.
My name Jeff. But yes, I am nostalgic for Yoshi's Island, Yoshi's Story, but also games like Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64, Super Mario World, even some garbage games like Like that Jurassic Park game Henry and I played a while back.
Oh,
Game sucked. Fuck you.
It does suck, but I was nostalgic for it. Like I have pleasant memories, ironically, of playing that game. It's a not great game, but I am nostalgic for it. But to go along with Dan's point, I also have some nostalgia for some more recent games, like Yoshi's Woolly World. Hey, there he is.
hold on. Tinkering.
Well, kind of.
I'm tinkering. Give me a
I can
minute.
no longer see Vigar on the screen, so that's a step in the right direction.
Okay, my Vive camera's on. That's my... Wait, are you saying my... Hold on, I'm gonna go over to
We're
my
seeing a
Vive.
black screen, Dan.
Oh, we're seeing hot garbage now. Jesus. Oh, look. There he is. Yay.
Hi, my Vive headset would like to say hello to the world. Oh my
Oh.
gosh, they put you down.
Guys, did I mention that we're professionals here?
There we go.
For the finest type of entertainment and nothing more or less.
Hey,
Probably
that's okay.
less. Actually, a lot less.
A lot less.
Hey guys, if you're willing to pay us $9.99, we will
We
all
will
sing a song
instantly-
for you,
We will
and Henry will clap
instantly,
for us.
we'll instantly return your $9.99 and tell you not to waste it.
Hold on,
All right,
let's see.
but,
I think
yeah,
there's a
like-
good spot.
I'm even nostalgic for some more recent games, like Yoshi's Woolly World, for example. Like
That game was just nostalgia. What are you talking about? Oh,
fair
God dang
point.
it.
But it came out in 2015. It came out in
Fix it.
2015, and I actually got nostalgic for that one, so that's pretty exciting. But that does bring up an interesting question. Dan was bringing up the point that we can get nostalgic for games that weren't even in our childhood. When and why do we get nostalgic for games?
Well-
Monkey Brain says I like. Monkey Brain do.
Monkey throw darts at balloon. No.
Colorful. Remind color of childhood. Must play.
Monkey
I
and power
don't know,
defense.
dog.
Well, let me
Go
chime
for it.
in. So the
Yep.
main part of this discussion is nostalgia. So let's just talk about what is nostalgic.
Video games. Video games are nostalgic.
Hey, wait, Henry, stop that. What makes the reason for things being nostalgic is nostalgia is linked to a memory or an emotion. So when someone becomes nostalgic, it is because they are going back. It typically brings them back to a mindset or a memory that they had that was exceedingly pleasant or even serious to a degree. Some people can be very nostalgic when they see their son go off to war, and it just reminds them of like when they went off to war, and the nostalgia of just you are about to go through a lot, but I honor your decision. There can be multiple kinds of nostalgia, but it's typically linked to a strong emotion or memory that person had. I hand it over to Jeff now.
I like that. So it brings you back to a more pleasant or, I don't know,
A very
treasured
strong.
memory.
It
Thus-
emotes a very strong feeling.
I mean, I guess so.
Because some people, when they become nostalgic, some people will just cry. They'll become nostalgic over the fact that, I have just this is what I used to have, or this is what I've lost. And but yes, it takes us back to a different time,
Yeah,
and that's where the nostalgia comes from.
sure. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like it brings you back to a treasured memory of some kind, whether it's like a strong positive memory or, I mean, it's usually going to be a positive memory, but
Usually.
whether it makes you happy or just, proud or things like that, like nostalgia is generally triggering a positive memory. What I find interesting about that definition there, Dan, is that we didn't mention the fact that, or we didn't mention the fact because it might not be a thing for this definition, that it doesn't have to be a distant memory. It can be a recent memory. like you said, you were nostalgic for The Room. I'm pretty nostalgic for Yoshi's Woolly World. In my case, like I remember that as being the very first game that I really followed every bit of news that came out for it and was getting super hyped for the game coming out. See episode, I believe, 10 of the Gaming Corner podcast. But it was the first game that I was really excited for. So playing it now kind of brings me back to that feeling of excitement. Like I was getting excited for the game coming out. And as you mentioned earlier, it does have some pretty nostalgic ties to Yoshi's Island through gameplay and whatnot. But what was that?
I went to point at you, and I think my brain died. It just went, I Spider-Man.
Let's not have Dan try sign language.
But I was pointing at you because I have the definition. Hey, buddy! What's he saying? I don't know. He keeps saying the word AZ, AZ, AZ. Okay, how is it going? So I have here the definition for nostalgia, which is a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past.
Yeah, I think that pretty well lines up with what we were saying.
Yeah. Sentimental longing, I think, is a really good description.
And going along with that definition, like that kind of does cement the fact that we can definitely be nostalgic for games in our childhood, like positive memories in our childhood. I remember, for example, I was playing Speedy Gonzales and Los Gatos Banditos on the Super Nintendo, a game I'm very nostalgic for. Actually, a decent game. But I remember the very first time I beat it. It was on like a little 19-inch CRT TV. It was just on the floor, and I was in my parents' living room, and I beat it for the very first time. And I turned up the music so loud, like to the maximum that little 19-inch CRT could handle, and just played the credit theme and just danced around the living room. That was a very positive memory for me. And I think that because of that memory, Speedy Gonzales Los Gatos Banditos on the Super Nintendo will always be a nostalgia trip for me. That's a funny story, though.
That's a mouthful.
Speedy Gonzales Los Gatos Bandidos.
Oh, I could think of a time that nostalgia affected me too. But before I keep speaking, is there any memories or events that you would like to talk about, Henry?
No.
So you're nostalgic, but don't want to talk about it. I mean, he kind of already did. Like,
past, man.
He kind of already did with his deleting his dad's save files.
Yeah, those were the good days. And simpler times.
Henry's past as the ultimate hacker, destroying his dad's save files.
What about those? I don't know how much this
old man.
But
I don't know. I don't really have any like set memories for me just with playing the games, other than just playing the games and just enjoying what they were.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. One thing with like Spyro the Dragon, my parents were cool and got me like the you remember those like official like strategy guides on how to basically 100% the games?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my parents were super big on getting those for me. So like Spyro the Dragon was one of the actually no, Banjo Kazooie was one of the first ones, as well as Super Mario 64 with like all the goodies and all the secrets and stuff like that. So it was cool being able to just like read that to see like what all nooks and crannies these things were tucked away in, and like it probably had a bigger impact because I'm more of like a visual learner, so being able to like see where those things are instead of reading like people like, I mean, back then there weren't any real like the internet wasn't relevant to be able to do that kind of stuff. But even so, if you look at like strategy guides now online, it's mostly just words. Like there's just like, oh, you have to go walk this path and you'll see blah, blah, blah. This now it's not pictures. You don't see pictures for anything. Well, you have to know what they're talking about or else you're fucked.
Henry, do you remember the guides, which when you would look them up online, someone would make the entire logo for the game out of like @ signs. And,
Yeah, out of like just tabs and things.
Out of
yeah.
ASCII characters.
Yep. Yeah, no, I definitely remember that. I remember that era a lot.
That was so painful.
Yeah, so like probably just the fact of like a lot of those like early on games, I had like those strategy guides to just be able to like read through it. And even when I wasn't like playing the game, it was just fun to like look through that to just read, because they'd give you like interesting like behind the scene tidbits of like blah blah blah. This interesting fact about certain things that happened was just like, this is cool. I like this. This is interesting to read about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a director's cut for some of the stuff, which is neat.
Yeah, it is neat.
You know what else I get nostalgic for that I really miss some days?
Wait, Jeff's over here. What, Jeff?
I sometimes get nostalgic about the video game manuals that used to come in the boxes.
Oh, right. They don't do that anymore.
No,
it's either just nothing or a quick little like, please don't eat the game.
Oh my God. I remember
seriously, please don't eat the game.
I know what Henry's talking about. I've got the cases where it's the PS game and it's literally one sheet of like paper, and on the back is like, there's a problem, just call this number. It's all we got.
Yeah, Dan, that's every physical game release now. Like here, I opened up. Hang on.
Oh no.
So remember
I have
this
story though.
Remember this Butte? It's Mega Man 11. I bought it 2 years ago at Black Friday.
I bought this. I'm so proud.
I just opened it today, and the Switch cartridge isn't going to be in there because I put it in my Switch case just in case I wanted to go traveling. But other than that, this is how I opened it. Look what's in here.
It's
an advertisement for Mega Man X. And that's it. There's not even anything on the inside cover. Look at this.
That's more than what I'd expect,
well,
honestly.
The cover has right there, it has a disclaimer. You don't need the manual.
Yeah, don't eat it, please.
The cover itself is paper. Yeah.
I mean, I will admit that I'm a big fan of the video game design where you don't have to read something to learn how to play it. But even still, like, some of those manuals were dope. Like,
I have, hold on. I'll do you one fucking dirty.
Wait.
I don't know if I would like that.
Okay. Thought of things. Do you guys remember, like, certain games having, like, a reversible cover?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Some special editions still do that.
Like, that's cool and all, but I'm just like, when am I ever going to reverse this? Because then the cardboard paper has that bias, and then you're like you're completely like creasing it the other way, and it's just like, I don't want to go this way. Please stop.
On my wall of memorabilia, I have Legend of the Dragoons. Not many people have heard of it. If you guys get a chance to play it, I highly recommend trying to beat this game. It's a fucking journey, and it's a great game. It's kind of harder than Final Fantasy, which is saying a lot. Now, I used to thumb through this in my pastime. This is the freaking manual for a 4-disc PlayStation game. It's just...
Oh, man. Watching you flip through those pages, that's nostalgia right there, man.
That's a book. You're reading a book now.
Oh yeah,
dude,
it's
have you
book.
seen the manual for Super Smash Bros. Brawl?
Here's the best part, though. When you get to the middle, of this is what appears.
See, that's cool artwork.
Yeah, it's just the middle of the book, the middle page where that inseam is.
Yeah.
Put artwork.
Which is good. It's smart because you get that shitty either staple or some type of like thing that holds the entire book together.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love this game.
While we're on the topic of that,
I'm gonna thumb through.
Here's Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Oh, I got a little more,
guys. So here's the
when
box
a topic would end. When a topic would end, but they wouldn't. Like the topic would end, but it'd be on like an odd page, so they didn't want to like add another one. So they're like, "Oh yeah, more artwork."
So anyway, here's the unboxing experience for Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and look at this beast. Oh, sorry, there's a thing there. Look at this beast of a manual. Like,
please don't hurt me. Please.
Jesus.
Does it have like the move set of every character, or is it multiple languages? Is it multiple languages?
I can't believe I actually turned to this page. Look, there's Yoshi.
This is bullshit. Fuck you, cheater.
But wait, there's more. There's more.
Somebody likes the eggs. Grambo.
Here you go. Here you go.
Oh my god, it's everyone's moveset?
Yeah, makes sense.
No way. Oh my god. Wait, that's 3 characters a page? Oh my gosh,
Yep.
that's so many pages.
Yeah, it is. I mean, well, technically there were only 35 characters in that game, but still, this was a pretty
That's
massive
10
thing.
pages. Well,
This
5.
was a pretty
It'll be 5
massive thing
pages.
back then, and honestly, I am nostalgic for these because
I'm just
I
gonna
never
keep
did finish my story.
showing artwork.
But like when I
Keep
would go
going.
to buy games with my mom or whatever, I would get the game, and on the way home, I didn't really bring my Game Boy or things like that everywhere I went. So when I didn't have something to keep myself occupied, I would open up the game and read the manual all the way home and admire the artwork. Oh, that's nostalgia right there. And I want to reiterate the unboxing experience for a modern game.
Yeah, it's very
Arcade-
lackluster.
I mean, look at, imagine this, kids in the future. Guys, remember when they used to include these advertisements? Mega Man X? Oh yeah, that's nostalgia right there. I just can't imagine that. I know it's gonna happen, but man, I can't
Also,
imagine that.
I'm sorry, audio listeners, as you cannot see what Jeff and Danny are constantly shoving in front of their
So
camera.
essentially, I'm gonna count the pages. Wait, Jeff, look at your page index. Tell me,
There's your
Whilst you guys are counting that, do you guys remember cool thing with the
53
PS1?
pages.
With some PS1 games, you could actually listen to the albums of some PlayStation 1 games.
I know what you're talking about. That goes back all the way to even Sonic. Remember Sonic the Hedgehog, where it'd have the sound test zone, where you could just play the audio?
No, I genuinely don't. 62, huh? That's a lot of
62
pages.
pages in Super Smash Bros. Brawl's manual.
This is about. It said 53 was the last numbered page, but there's like 2 more after it. Which, might I add, this is everyone in their Dragoon. Is this all the Dragoons? Yeah, this is all the This is quite a few of the Dragoons in their final form. Like, oh, it's pretty.
And like Henry said, I know the audio listeners don't get to see that stuff, but hey, if you want to see what we're showing, go check out the video on Volatile Upgrade YouTube. But guys,
essentially what it comes down to is even the accessories now for when you buy a game have changed from back in the day to now. Now, a lot of the, hey, you bought this early? Yeah. Go, here's a free in-game item. Oh. Whereas back in the day, it was, hey, you bought this game early? Yeah, go pick up here's a special themed stylus. Here's a special physical accessory. Oh, here it goes.
And we are
and the
off to
nostalgia
races,
hit.
folks.
Boy, there he goes. But yeah, no, I remember picking up Pokemon Diamond, which, did you know if you can find a Pokemon Diamond game, it's worth $90? Moving on.
Ugh.
Yeah. Let that sink in.
No.
So I remember picking up Pokemon Diamond, and they gave me a special Pikachu stylus. Mind you, my dog chewed it up in like 4 months, but I still remember getting it.
so this is my pre-order bonus for pre-ordering Super Mario Odyssey. Nice little bronze coin.
Whoa.
Oh my god, you have the whole world in your
It's
hand.
Cappy.
I got the whole world in this coin. I got the whole world.
Oh, that's just painful. But
Okay, but yeah. Just a little bit of a Nintendo flex, I guess. Nobody cares.
No, I wouldn't say nobody cares. But I've noticed. Oh, I said whoops. I try not to do that. I've noticed though, as we've gone on further and further through our history, a lot of people typically when they're going to do something that they know is not going to be a big hit. Like I've heard Fallout has gone, oh, you got the Fallout Deluxe package pre-order? you get all this. And a lot of the times when you get the pre-order, they would give you, unless you paid extra. If you paid extra for the pre-order, we'll give you a freaking cup that's worth $2, but it's got a cute little face on it from the game. And a lot of the pre-orders have become digital, so that you feel like you should pre-order, and invest in this good decision. And we have a whole nother podcast discussing whether or not we should pre-order a game in our discussion. Check it out.
Gotten to that one yet, but
we haven't. What did we talk about that one week then? Wait, you're over here. What did we talk about that one week then?
I don't know. What were we talking about that week?
Ew, stop, both of you. I don't want to watch that. Just
All right.
sad.
Oh, Jeff. Oh,
it's just sad and weird.
Oh God.
I wish I could turn off your fucking camera so I can't see it.
Maybe it's better for you guys
to mute you guys too, which sucks.
Maybe it's better that we have the audio listeners stay on the audio side.
You know what? I could just minimize Discord. That's what we could do. There we go.
So,
all right, you guys can do whatever now.
All right, so after all that, I think it's pretty well cemented that a nostalgic feeling can come from something other than just playing the game. And it also doesn't have to be something that's in far past memory. It could be something relatively recent, so long as it's tied to a strong positive feeling. I think that's pretty much why and when we get nostalgic for games. And
just get nostalgic in general.
Yeah.
So I bet you, Jeff, you're of all people, now that you're married and happily living life, do you ever get nostalgic about when you first met Sky or your wedding?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Ew.
No, we have a lot of positive memories, and I'm nostalgic for all of those, of course. Yeah, and that was relatively recent. I didn't even meet Sky until 2017.
Wow, was that fast? Well, then again, you guys paced it well, unlike
we were
some people, which just
we were dating for about a year,
wedding.
had a 6-month engagement period, and got married after that. So
that's pretty decent
compared to stuff.
And we've been married for a little over 2 years now.
I still remember
almost 2.5 years.
There was a person I knew that got a literal shotgun wedding. They met a person, and then in 3 months married. I was like,
dude, sometimes you just know it's the one.
Yeah,
it just happens.
But then why throw a ring on? If you know it's the one, she's gonna stay.
Because they just want to get that out of the way as soon as possible. Why draw it out?
I don't know. Maybe because she's fleeing her country and she needs a green card.
That's fine. So love finds each other in mysterious ways. That's all I got.
Love will find you where you are.
Si se puede. You're not husband and wife.
All right.
Sorry. That's super off track. Where
Way
were
off
we?
track.
Well, we were talking about Jewel Case and the collectibles that came with games. And sort of what's interesting is we've kept relics from our childhood, and we have kept relics from just from things that gave us nostalgia. And typically anything I support, I'll typically I'm trying to move out of the way. Wow! And just enjoy the memories that gives. It's not Call of Duty. That's the Cold War poster. But for me, a good part of my childhood was also just vibing with Mike playing zombies, because it was one of those games that was just constant action, but you could do it at your own pace, which for an ADHD riddled kid like me, it was like, oh my God, action that I can kind of control. It was great. Don't judge.
So
Jeff, stop laughing.
I have a question for you guys.
Go ahead.
So it's clear that we've got a lot of games and memories we're nostalgic about. How does that drive our interest in games? Does nostalgia really pilot where we're interested in gaming, or does it tie into the sort of the games that we're interested in playing? How does nostalgia drive that interest?
It's getting hot over here.
I mean, for me personally, it definitely with HD. I I don't know what do we classify that as? Remakes?
Yeah, remakes. Like the Crash Bandicoot and
yeah.
I know
Trilogy
a game
Reignited
that
trilogies.
will. Hold on, I know a game I can tell Henry that will help this topic. If we're on the one which how does nostalgia drive how we see games and how we play them?
Yep.
That's the topic at hand. All right, this is all I have to say to Henry. Watch this. Hey, Hen, how did you feel about Ukulele?
I mean, it was. I had high hopes because it was made by the same development team as Banjo-Kazooie, but unfortunately, it wasn't like how I like Banjo-Kazooie. Like the backtracking with the hundreds of different like power-ups and shit for each of the individual levels really killed it for me. But that's like my own personal problem. Other than that, I think the game's solid. I think it's fun. I think they did an awesome job. I was really hyped for it. So like, I mean, they hit the Banjo-Kazooie like fucking nostalgia vibe hardcore with that game for what it was. If anything, they hit it more for like a Banjo-Tooie vibe than anything.
The worlds were pretty massive.
Yeah,
they hit it for a Banjo-Tooie vibe.
But like, for me, I like the HD remakes. Whenever they announce a game like that, it always puts the games like top of the list. Like, I can't wait to play that game series again, but with prettier graphics that are up to date, or like cleaned up gameplay and stuff like that too. It's so like nostalgia is always just like, this is fun, this is amazing. Cool thing I didn't know that they had done was me and a friend of mine were playing the Halo Collection series to replay through all of the main campaign games. And in the first one, you could actually switch between the updated graphics and what the original graphics were.
Oh, so that's cool.
And
I wish Spyro had done that.
Like, it does it instantly. Like, you could hit the select button on the controller and immediately flips it between them. There's no loading or anything. So like, you could be playing through regularly and you could just be spamming the button to see the difference between what the two games were.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept. And it's like, holy shit, this game was so fucking ugly back in the day. And it's like, they did a crazy good job now.
It's like Horton Hears a Who. Dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light.
Yep, light. That is literally what I did for like the entire almost the entire time we were playing, just to see like what differences it was. Because it's like, I want to see what it originally was. I want to see what it looks like now. I want to see what it originally was. I want to see what it looks like now. And it's just really cool that they gave that as an option. And the fact that it's such a flawless transition for it to flip between just like two assets essentially for information in that engine. I think it's really cool that the developers did that. That
is really cool. I mean, that essentially would mean that you have to have all of the assets loaded in twice.
Yes.
But for Xbox games, like the original Xbox, I can't imagine it would be insanely demanding to the point where on PC especially, you can't do it. So, but still, that is a really cool feature.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the coolest things I've seen. I'm sure I probably read about it, was very interested in that at the time, and completely forgot about it until all of a sudden I was doing it, and I'm like, this is so neat.
This is experiment.
I don't know, remakes for old games, I always have a high interest in them because I know I enjoyed the game before. I'm going to enjoy the game again, and if the company is making products like that, I definitely want to support them and have them make more of said products of older games.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it's mostly remakes and remasters that really trigger your nostalgia, not the spiritual successors and such.
I mean, there haven't really been any like I don't what other spiritual successors have there been? Like, I know Spyro had a couple different like games, which they all were good in their own right.
So generally by spiritual successor, I mean, you know,
Hero's Tale,
a game
like Ukulele, right?
Yes, yeah, like Ukulele,
like not
a game
of that franchise, but it's like that franchise.
Yeah, it's supposed to like call back to those nostalgic ties for the source material.
Maybe like the Nathan Drake series, that's a Naughty Dog.
But that
they made Crash back in the day.
I loved their storytelling.
But unfortunately, the gameplays are completely different. So it's like,
Yeah.
is it really a successor? Not really per se, but it's the same company.
There's not like a ton of spiritual successors that I can think of, but like
yeah, that's the
one
thing.
one that's been on my
Spyro. Sly Cooper 4, Thieves in Time.
No. That's just a continuation of what the franchise is.
So let me go ahead and
I know
throw
what
out a
Jeff's
definition. So a spiritual successor is a game that is made by a publisher, developer, that is supposed to be reminiscent of the base game that it's on, but it's part of a different franchise. Dan, your example of
Hero's Tale.
What is Hero's Tale? Isn't that a Spyro game?
Yes.
Then no, it is not a spiritual successor.
It's a Spyro game.
So
then again,
your example of Ukulele is a perfect example of a spiritual successor.
Right.
It's got the gameplay sort of setup that Banjo-Kazooie sets up, but it's a different franchise. It calls back to that series a little bit, but it's a brand new IP. It's not Banjo-Kazooie.
Was there any Banjo-Kazooie Easter eggs in Ukulele?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Gosh, the last time I played Ukulele,
honeycombs.
I
know they had honeycombs a lot in it, which that was a pretty big part of Banjo-Kazooie. But besides that,
the whole fact that the characters had their yop kind of dialogue kind of called back to it.
I'm not gonna lie, every voice was decent except for King B. Oh my gosh! I think it sounded like
you'll never beat Gruntilda. Like she was the best.
Well, what's funny about Gruntilda is that voice. Gruntilda was made to be monotone, have slightly different pitches, but essentially be the same accent. The problem with the Bee King is that it just sounded like he was falling down a fucking staircase every time he talked. Just his voice was going up and down far too much. It would just it wasn't like it was literally it was not that. Holy fuck.
That was
Thomas the Tank Engine.
No, that was the Dr. Duck or whatever his name was.
I can do that. But.
There you go. Guys, I'm going to put out a real hot take. I hate that dialogue. I hate it so much.
I'm not going to lie. That dialogue, unless you were like reminiscent and knew that was like a cultural thing, it's kind of like walking. The best way to describe that voice is walking into a house and just being informed, oh yes, we're eating cat tonight. And you just look over and go, no, I would never. No. Meanwhile, me and Henry are at the table like, don't think about it. It's not that bad.
I didn't remember.
It's such a weird gaming trope that was done that I've acclimated to it. I'm used to it. Henry's used to it. But newcomers, God, the boss bee's voice needs to die. Anyway,
so that's
how nostalgia can affect our view of these newer games. We just become more accepting of these oddities that for new people are like, what the fuck are they doing? And meanwhile, all of us in the back are like, oh yeah, talk slower. Give me that. Oh yeah. And it was just nostalgic for us. Whereas for other people, it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like for you, Jeff, being a speedrunner. What's really nostalgic for you is movement combos.
Oh, yeah.
So when Mario Odyssey came out, oh my gosh, you had to show me the triple dive, cappy, flip, back roll. And I'm looking at you going, what's wrong with double jump? What's wrong with the double
SMH, my friend. SMH. No, but you're right. Like, like in Super Mario 64, I played that game a ton as a kid, and I loved that movement. And so far, the only game that's even come close to replicating it in the Mario franchise is Mario Odyssey. I mean, Mario Sunshine a little bit, but I think Mario Odyssey really had it going for me there. because like Dan alluded to, you can get through the whole game without doing a triple jump, or you could do your triple jump, throw Cappy, dive, jump off of Cappy, do another throw, and then dive again to get some crazy distance. Or chain together a long jump with a Cappy throw, jump off of Cappy, throw him again.
You're saying too many things.
Or wall jump and blah, 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 blah. You get the point.
I just want to do Banjo's woodpecker attack. How hard?
Right. Keep it simple, man.
And I think that sort of movement really... My nostalgic ties to Mario 64 cement my love for that sort of movement.
You know what one of the funniest things of nostalgia is? This will hit quite a few of our viewers, but you don't notice it until you switch consoles. This is when I found this nostalgia that just made me go, why the fuck would you do this? Whenever you play Call of Duty or a shooter game, it's almost always left trigger switch is your aim, right trigger is your shoot. You go to PlayStation, and those buttons are a little bit farther back. So for me, the default was the front bumpers being aim and shoot.
L1
and
L2,
it is such a nostalgia like, and it's such a nostalgia like, well, you shouldn't do that. You know, this isn't how anyone would play a game. But that's when it got me thinking, wait a second. It's just two buttons and they're right next to each other. Why does this matter to me? Oh, right. Because some of the games I would play back when I was younger, this was their play set. This is being carried on from my past to my present. To
Which
make me feel like I have
you're a Sony guy originally.
Sony, and even in moving into PC, there are some games. Oh my gosh, this one's a fun one. Have you ever, if you play a bunch of first person and then you play Gears of War for the first time, holy cow, it freaks you out. Because I tell you X button, what do you say? Bottom button, A, X, whatever it is for you over here, Jeff, or Henry.
It's the top button for Nintendo.
Well, bottom button.
It's the left button for Xbox. It's the right button for GameCube, and it's the bottom button for Sony.
Stop ruining my example. But when I say the bottom button,
your example.
When I say the bottom button, most people go jump. It's jump. It's always jump. You know, even first-person shooter, it's jump. Open world game, it's jump. You get into Call of Duty. What's X button? Everybody, take cover. What? X is what? Take cover. Why is that take cover? There is no jump button. Oh. In an open world shooter? Oh, this is a new type of spaghetti. I'm not used to the sauce. It was
disgusting.
It's strange. Mom, why'd you put a shoe in the pot? And it was like a culture shock, almost. It actually was. I would say it was a culture shock for gaming when you switch between a game which, like the most reminiscent thing you would think of. And one of the greatest games that challenged nostalgia, which I haven't played, but I've been recommended, is Heavy Rain. The game's control schema is insanely tricky because it wants you to feel like the actions you're doing in the game, because every action counts, are actually tricky. Like trying to lockpick a door before someone kicks it down and hauls you away it feels tense because the game would be like, all right, in order to do this maneuver correctly, hold down R2 so your left hand is balanced on this desk. Okay. Now hold down the circle button so your other hand is ready. Okay. While holding those two buttons down, press your right trigger to attempt to kick down the door. Now click the right trigger as fast as possible so you can try to kick down the door, but don't let go of either one of those buttons or you'll lose your balance and have to start all over again, and you're on a time limit. And that game, storytelling-wise, was amazing through the use of that, where they kept it open world to a degree, but for the decision action heavy parts, you had to do these like finger combinations that were sometimes quick time events. And they would just be like, how fast can you hit the select button? How fast can I hit the what? You failed. I was expecting that one.
All right,
and it was a really cool use of sort of breaking the mold because of what nostalgia set up for us and how nostalgia has affected what we expect from games.
So I find that nostalgia also makes it harder for me to try and branch out and try to play different types of games that are outside of my comfort zone. Because the games that I'm nostalgic for, you guys likely know this, I mean, it's almost all Nintendo, but largely platformers. There's some Zelda in there, but realistically, most of the games that I am nostalgic for are platformers. Your Marios, your Yoshis, your Speedy Gonzales and Los Gatos Banditos. These games are the genres that I'm nostalgic for, and it's hard for me to really, or at least it used to be, very hard for me to get into like a third-person shooter, or a game like a MOBA like League of Legends, or I don't know, strategy. I can't get into strategy, but like the fact that I played these games when I was a child and in my teenage years, it cemented my taste, I feel like, in video games. Like when I look for a video game to play, I'd say between 30 and 50% of the time, it's a 2D side-scrolling platformer game. Like Owlboy, or Caves in the Wild Masks, or Hollow Knight, or Ori and the Blind Forest. These are games that, while they don't have any sort of nostalgic appeal in the characters, aside from Caves in the Wild Masks, because that's kind of a spiritual successor to Donkey Kong Country, but that's the genre of games that I'm nostalgic for. It's my comfort zone. It used to be very, very hard for me to branch out of that. What do you guys think of that? Do you guys have any sort of similar experience?
I agree with you, Jeff, on a couple of those. And the problem with me is I love to analyze. That's always been my thing. I like to analyze situations. I like to analyze what makes a game run. And if I could be a video game playtester or just be a professional like problem solver, diagnosis person, I'd be great. I love doing that. Oh man, but I have to say college was rough, especially when the only person teaching code was heavy Russian.
College was rough. Quote every college student every year ever.
No, I love psychology. I would go to college for psychology. It was the easiest shit. People look at me like, how do you understand like behavioral analysis? And I'm like, that was great. That was great, you know? Teacher was fun. The teacher would use Big Bang Theory to explain Freudian behavioral training.
Bazinga.
Oh, it was great. She was up to date. And I love that about her, but I love the topic in general. It's just like, this is what's happening. This is what we can do to fix them. And I love that. I hated neuropsychology. Neuropsychology, it has a place, but that's more into a medical field. I personally hated it because it just kept explaining, oh, this person's part of his brain, it's messed up. And that's what these symptoms mean. And I'm over here going, but how does that help the person? Next topic. I'm like,
anyway, your point was,
well, oh shoot, I lost the question because I went on a rant.
Henry, what do you think?
Jeff?
Think about what?
Okay, so let me reiterate the question.
Thank you.
As a child, I played a lot of platforming games. Now in my adult life, 30 to 50% of the games that I look for to play are 2D platformers. Do you guys have that at all?
Unfortunately, no, because I'm well, like I play like everything. There's really no like genre I'm not going to try or play if the story or whatever is interesting enough, or gameplay is interesting enough for that matter. So like, there's nothing that really pulls me to something. It's all pretty much level playing field, but that's just because I'm neutral for most things like that.
I think that's honestly a pretty good thing.
Okay,
What about
now
you,
I know
Dan?
where my train of thought was going. So I was talking about analyzing, and I'm the same as Henry, essentially. I don't pick exclusively a genre, and because of the fact I think all games can contribute something. Bad ones can tell you things that the good ones miss, like the good ones have that people underappreciate.
Yeah.
And I've heard some YouTubers when I'd watch them, they'd be like, "Oh yes, the light moves, the shadows here," and I'm like, I would never thought of that unless I've been in a place where that graphical prowess was just never prevalent, or just like non-existent, or just wasn't very emphasized. So I play pretty much all games. Am I biased to a game? I would say to an extent. I tend to play games these days that are more social, and I don't play as many first persons as I used to. However, to say though that because of nostalgia it is shaped, not as much. I'm more on the Henry side. Sorry, Jeff. In which
That's perfectly fine.
For me, I started out on PlayStation and all those consoles, and then as I grew up, I realized that the consoles weren't really repeating the games I wanted, weren't remaking Spyro. Brain, what happened? We're remaking Spyro. We did pretty dog awful Sly Cooper 4. Naughty Dog, what have you done? And it sort of just became part of the past. Now, do I reference it? Did what that has happened teach me that I love playing some games of controllers because easier handling? Of course. I enjoy playing Monster Hunter with a controller. It's so much more manageable because I'm adept to using a controller, and because of that is giving me a bit of a bias when I play those sort of games.
Makes sense.
But at the same time, I don't actively seek games where those skills were exclusive because of the fact I was shown such a breadth of games as a child. I didn't really I became a kind of adept at everything. Do I have favorite games? Yes, but I sort of have a favorite game for sort of each genre or each mood I'm in because of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. Now, with the stance that you guys are talking about, you're pretty good at looking at video games analytically, objectively. I'd like to say that I'm pretty good at this sort of thing too, but sometimes they don't call nostalgia the rose-tinted glasses for nothing. And I find that with a lot of those old games, they may not stand up as well nowadays as we'd like to think they do. So let me ask you this, guys. How much harder, or is it even impossible, to be objective about a game you're nostalgic for? For example, can I look at Super Mario 64 and really nail down what's objectively good and bad about it? Or am I doomed to my rose-tinted glasses, this game is amazing 10 out of 10 status? And what about you guys? Where do you feel?
I'm prepared for this fucking conversation. I got my smart glasses.
He's got his rose-tinted glasses, guys. Let's go.
Goody. He's got the glasses.
I got the glasses, mate. Fucking smart now. So,
buttons.
Oh, had to say something random.
This guy's like, I got this, and he's fucking.
My brain just fried.
Fucking choking.
Take
right
those
now.
glasses off. You
Shattered.
don't take those glasses off. You don't deserve them.
No, they're fucking killing his brain cells somehow.
Henry, I want to start with you.
The
actually,
light is lasering into my retina.
Run it by me again. I was listening to Steve.
TLDR, can we still be objective about games that we're nostalgic for? Or are we doomed to have that rose-tinted glasses sort of view of the game? Say for, I don't know, Banjo-Kazooie, for example. You look at the game, you're nostalgic for it. You think, oh, this game was great. does a newcomer have that sort of mindset? Is the game good because you're nostalgic for it, or I guess what the question is, does nostalgia make it harder to be objective?
So the way it boils down in my mind is it depends on what their exposure to video games is like. Because like if it's literally their very first game ever is like Banjo-Kazooie, they're probably going to be like, this is like the cat's pajamas, amazing game. Because they have nothing to compare it to. Because like newer games currently are so like fucking mind-boggling, like over the top, everything. It's like it's hard to compare those types of games to the older style, because the older style does simple but effective types of gameplay, whether it's storytelling, mechanics, that kind of stuff. There's no bells and whistles with our older games that we're nostalgic for. 9 times out of 10, very basic shit. The reason we like it is because that's what we grew up with and we have the fond memories of it. But if it's somebody who's never played a video game before and that's where their starting point is, it's very likely they're more likely to enjoy it, having not to compare it to all the crazy bullshit that new games have. That's where I stand on it. So like say like a kid's been playing like, I don't know, Call of Duty for the last like fucking, I don't know, 12 years of their life because they're fucking awful humans. And they decide to go and play like one of our nostalgic games. They're going to think it sucks. That's just what it is. They're just going to be like, the graphics are terrible. The mechanics are clunky and fucking awful. It's just what that's going to be.
Where are the guns?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing. Why is nobody holding my hand? Why is there not a fairy saying, hey, listen, follow me, asshole?
Hey, listen.
Hey, jump off the cliff.
So because they're just oversaturated with like these fucking like with just the newer generation of shit, they're just not going to like what we enjoyed. That's why like the HD remakes at least put it in the spectrum of like, this looks pretty, this plays better, you should enjoy this probably.
You don't understand the quality.
Okay. Now something I've been thinking a little bit about. I recently played through Spyro 3, The Year of the Dragon, on the Reignited trilogy. Now, I had something cross my mind, and I was talking to Henry about this recently, and Daniel too.
Nope.
Daniel, your favorite Spyro game is Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon, correct?
Yeah.
Henry, your favorite Spyro game is Spyro 1, yeah?
Yeah.
You forgive me.
Fuck you.
You know which one is my favorite, guys?
2.
It's 2. That killed me.
So why? Why does that happen? Are you guys just nostalgic for those games, or what's going on here?
If you want a Henry, press 1. If you want a Jeffrey, press 2. If you want a Daniel, press 3.
So I'm very curious. Is that nostalgia driven, or is it just stuff that we value differently in the games?
Honestly, that comes down to what we prioritize as important. Because for each of us, like all 3 of us have agreed that there is no bad Spyro game in the trilogy. There are just Spyro games that we go, I like this one better. And I liked how this one operated. I liked the theme of this one. And I cut out for a minute. Am I good? I'm in. Okay.
Do you guys remember that thing I hate the most in games, though?
What?
No.
Fucking backtracking.
Yeah, 3.
Spyro 3 had that in droves.
Like 2 had it a little bit. 3 was a lot worse with the characters. The extra characters you could play as. One's like you can complete the whole level on just one pass through.
I remember that because 3 would have how 3's backtracking would work, which I still remember it. How 3's backtracking would work is this, okay? You'd unlock the character, and then in that area, that world was a character, and then there was a character you were going to get in the next world on that world. There was always one that you had to. There's always one you had to get that you had to go back. It was never like the third world come back to the first world. And it wasn't awful, but yes, there was quite a bit of backtracking. In fact, some of the best ways to play 3 is literally pum rush the character, get the character level done, and then you just play all the other worlds any order you want, so you didn't have to backtrack
but I
randomly.
don't like that. It forces me to have to unlock the character first in order to complete the rest of the worlds. That's dumb.
I felt that.
Forcing me to have to play a certain way, and I don't like it.
I felt that. Like I too prefer when you can just play through the level 100% then and there. And man, like there were those portions where there was a sign for Sparks, and Zoe the fairy was like, "Hey, come back later. I'll have something for you later."
Yeah, you got to beat the fucking boss.
Oh, the Sparks missions.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, you had to come back for those, and then like Henry was saying, the characters.
Those were broken.
Honestly, I hate to turn this into like a pooping on Spyro 3. Like Spyro 3 was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, but don't worry. It's only my emotions you're hurting here.
Yeah, I'm just stamping on Dan's poor little heart.
Yeah, get fucked. Maybe if you had better taste in video games.
You know, after being in college for 4 years, don't come out right.
So here's the thing with Spyro 3, though. Like, I appreciated that they tried to put some variety into the gameplay. But with those extra characters, it took away from what I really enjoyed about the game. Like, I'm playing a Spyro game to play as Spyro, and for that sort of game loop, and those characters, they were kind of fun in their own right, but they took away from it, Spyro for me. I feel bad because that's like the same sort of thing that Sonic ran into with Sonic Adventure versus Sonic Adventure 2. When you add more playable characters, some people can see it as a good thing, some people can see it as a bad thing. I don't like it. That being go ahead.
Now, here comes a question where it's going to sound weird how I'm going to phrase it, but objectively, because this is about how nostalgia can affect our viewpoints, objectively, is this a point that really makes or breaks the game? Or is it a point which it's just an option that the developers took that we actually don't prefer? We tolerate it, but we don't prefer it. What I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to say it without saying like,
is it an objectively bad thing, or is it just something that we don't like?
Exactly, but I didn't want to phrase it like that because to a degree, if you're being objective, you're mostly being honest, but to a degree, you put some of your own bias in there because each person objectively has a different objective. But yes, Jeff, the skinny of it is how you describe it. Is it me or is it them that I hate this game? Like, I've played games
I don't hate
where
the
it's
game.
like, right, okay. So in that case,
No, the game sucked. Dog shit.
So basically, Jeff liked the game. He did not like the choice the developers took for the third, making it not his favorite. He preferred the second, where it was just Spyro collecting those magic orbs.
Yep.
Which I have to say, of all the games, I appreciated one, which was just like, unlock the dragons and bring back magic to the world. And 3 was like, we have to get the dragon eggs back because dragon eggs have magic in them. And these eggs going to the lost world will give that world magic that could make a place get out of hand. And the second game just like, yo, Ripto accidentally dropped his orb collection everywhere. Can we clean this shit up? Are they dangerous? Yeah, I mean, kind of, but you can't use them.
To get back to your question, Dan, that choice that the developers took really pushed me the wrong way, but I can understand why someone else might like it. So objectively,
it's a good game. Personally, you don't like that choice because personally you like just playing Spyro rather than having to play 14 side characters and backtracking.
Now, objectively,
actually, no, 5 side characters.
Objectively, I
plus
do think
backtracking.
it takes away from the Spyro experience that was established in the first 2 games.
Though it being a canon game, it's part of the Spyro experience holistically, just not the part of the Spyro experience you wanted to experience.
No. Spyro 1 introduced Spyro and his playstyle. Spyro 2 expanded on that. Spyro 3 introduced a slew of other characters. And to me,
I think you're right. Yeah, that's that.
To me, that took away from the Spyro experience. It's not a bad game, and in fact, I think there's things about Spyro 3 that are better than the other 2. But
oh no.
I don't feel like the additional characters add to what makes Spyro Spyro. It kind of just took away from what I enjoyed about the game. And I do think that it took away from what made Spyro games Spyro. For you, Dan, that could have made it more enjoyable. As you mentioned before, the multiple different playstyles kept you interested.
He grew tired of Spyro in the Spyro game.
Bitches.
He's like,
For
there's too
me-
much Spyro in my Spyro game. I want less of it.
I need
For
more
me,
Spyro in my
it just-
Spyro game. Where's my Spyro?
For me, it just
I need
made me
to pour
want
in more
to
Spyro.
it made me want to finish that section of the level faster so I could get back to the fun part, playing Spyro.
I will state, though, that because of the decisions in 3, I personally appreciated it. It led to Spyro 4, though, because everyone was like, wow, this is a really interesting experimentation of a game, the varied playstyles. How are we going to expand upon it? You're the dragonfly! You didn't.
Didn't they kind of do that in 3?
Spyro has a bubble breath. Someone help.
Dude, let's not
Spyro-
talk about You're the Dragonfly. That's just bad. Everyone
That
can agree
game-
that game's just bad.
All right, here's
Right. And
So-
that's objectively horrible. And whoever
No, there's no
child
objectively about it. It's not objectively bad. It's just a really badly made game. The number of glitches and problems with that, it is not a finished product. Legit. It is a very buggy game. It is not good.
one of these
Now-
days, I might, if my stream gets popular enough, I'm gonna actually play and beat that game.
No, don't.
Because I've
It's
only
not
I've
worth it.
I've
beaten
only
the game.
played-
It's not worth it. Really
bad?
not.
how many
You are not
breaths do
missing
you get?
anything.
I have a question. How many breaths do you get?
Like
How many can your lungs
four or
take?
5? You get fire, bubble, electric, ice.
5?
You get 4. I think it's 4.
Oh, cool! 5 characters. They're just always on you at all times.
It's not 5 characters on you at all times. It's just 5 different choices for abilities.
And one of them's bubble.
Abilities.
All right,
One
so
of them's bubble.
so
Woof.
Dan, one more thing I have to ask of you, and then we'll move on to
Sure.
to Duncan on Spyro 1.
I said if I did my laundry,
Whoa.
I didn't. I am so sorry.
Dan, does your enjoyment of Spyro 3 mostly
Mhm.
come from the fact that you're nostalgic for it and it was a game that was a huge part of your childhood? Or is it because you find objectively good things in it and think it stands above the other two?
Honestly, nostalgia does play a huge part in that game. I liked it. I messed around in the starting world. In fact, I had Crashback and would do the demo. If you press all 4 buttons, you can play the first world of Spyro, and I wanted to see how far I could get in that. Like I did so much with Spyro You're the Dragon. I personally enjoyed it. I hunted down the secrets. I played it to death. I fell in love with the soundtrack. And to say it's a perfect game, I have to agree with you too. No. It was at best, it was the most experimentative of the Spyro trilogy. Like the first 2 were first one, get the concept down, like you said, get the concept down, get everything right. 2, let's do what works, but expand upon it, giving it a little more oomph, which was fine, that's great. But then when 3 hits, the number of elements that they threw in there not only made the world bigger, but to an extent made it feel like you were playing a bit like kind of like a Crash Bash game. Not to bash on Spyro 3, but you have parts where, in the first world, you could get an egg just right off the bat by going into a lake. You could jump up over a horizon, get a flying power-up, go through a flying obstacle course, watch as Adam appears behind me, drop
Hi,
some money.
Adam.
Oh, thank you. That's Jeffrey.
Hi.
Oh yeah, I know your dad.
Oh, do you? That's awesome. Small world.
Thanks for the bill. Hold on, let me see what the gas bill is. You ready? They're saying it's $50 this month.
Dude, I'm jealous.
Bill.
$50 for a gas bill? Man,
Right.
I want that.
So, it's good. All right, thank you. Thanks so much. Okay. I can tell he's not high. He actually closed the door. It's awfully nice of him. You didn't hear me say that. He doesn't watch the podcast. Where were we before I got? Oh, right. Right. One part. The first thing off the bat in the first world, you can go get a flying power up. Do basically like a flying mini game where you just barely have enough flight to get an egg. And if you use the flying power up really well, there's a secret one up if you zoom around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, would I say that's a Spyro game? No, I just played a mini flying game where I flew through a cavern as Spyro and to get one of the eggs. And also, a huge thing that Jeff pointed on that I liked, but was interesting, because for me, as an analyst, it showed me that there's all these different play styles, and there's so many different ways you can just, as in one game, utilize all these different things. Let me go through a couple. There's the sandcastle boss fight that you play with Sheila, where you have to destroy an entire Rhinox sandcastle by ground pounding the out of the thing. And it's like, why? Oh, to get an egg. So we can deliver a bomb, blow up a facility, and get an egg. And it's like, that's so left field. And there's also the parts where, as Spyro, really fun parts, where you do the super run to get the egg thieves. And you're going 558 miles per hour, and you're drifting, and jumping and going around. Would I say that's a Spyro?
I would say so.
It is, though.
That existed in the
also
first game.
sort of it's also sort of a mini game of a really hard to drive vehicle.
That's a good point as well.
But also, I have to agree with you where they made those parts that were mini games not feel like mini games, because you're like, oh, this is just my sprint, but they sped it up a lot. But if they did things like, oh, this is Spyro's. What if Spyro? Oh my gosh, the worst one's when you get the fire breathing power up, and they're like, oh yeah, use this ability. It's so inaccurate. If that had homing, that would be that would have been so easy to deal with. But it didn't. So you'd have to accurately. I think the most breaking part of that game, there are parts of the game which you play as Spyro, feels great. Worst one is the Sergeant Bird exclusive world. I think it's called Twirly Heights. It is so breaking because the main part of the game is an area that Sergeant Bird can also explore. And it's kind of a nightmare because Spyro has this designated path he goes on. But you see all this stuff and you're like, but why can't I go there? What's that? Why is there a dog with a golden bone going, just in the corner? What the is that? And you get through the whole thing and they're like, oh yeah, do you want to do the Sergeant Bird mission? Sure. And you walk into the portal, and then when he walks out and you see it's the exact same world that you just went through and collected, that's when it hits you and you go, I thought this was a Spyro level. Why is this a Sergeant Bird and Spyro? What game am I playing?
Yeah, I remember that level now.
And you have to go and get all the bones for Dandy Bone Man, the Shaman, Jiggity Wiggity,
Yeah,
Mr. Bones. I loved Mr. Bones' original dance. And then
All
they
right,
added
so-
Fortnite, and it killed
All
me.
right, so Dan,
But
I don't
then-
want to cut you off, but I know that Henry's got a limited amount of time left with us, so I want to get to him quick.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Right. I am ranting, but I'll conclude this shortly then. Spyro
No.
3, nostalgically, I love. And would I say it's a great game? For me, it was a great game on the exploration of just simple games. What do you need for it to feel like a game and to have fun with it? And that's what I loved about Spyro 3, is just there were elements where it's like, this is shooty game, aim turret, done. And I was like, that was fun. Cat hockey. Cat hockey I still love to this day. Simple as hell mechanic. Cat won't go where you want it to,
I knew
freeze the
this
shit
wasn't
out of
going
it,
to be
and
short.
eat it. And that, but objectively, I mean, it's all right. It was just a founding block for a lot of other games that came later.
all right. What about you, Henry? Spyro 1 is your favorite out of the Spyro games. Is that because you're nostalgic for it, or do you find it to be objectively better?
Better than what, I should say.
The other two.
Come on,
Ooh,
Dan.
that's
We're playing
Spyro
comparison.
2 and Spyro 3.
But I was going to say, is it better than other third world games during its time? Or, like, is it better than... No, seriously. Like, is it better than Crash? Is it better than Mario 64?
We're sticking to Spyro right now, Dan.
Sticking to the Spyro franchise itself.
I mean, I'm definitely not going to rank my nostalgia games like that way. And I like out of their franchise series. That's not worth it.
Here's the final boss. This is a small child.
Fuck
Who do you
that.
want?
No.
Who do you want on your
Fuck
team?
you. I'm not doing it even if you ask me to.
Well,
No, I think it's probably more of a nostalgia reason as to why I actually enjoyed the first one over the other two.
Okay.
I mean, objectively, it's just a simplified introduction of the franchise. So it didn't have any crazy bells or whistles. You just run through the worlds, introduced to many characters, level designs, stuff like that. And then, then you're introduced to new mechanics in the other two, which I guess spices it up a bit and catches the interest for the people. So it's not just a repetitive game that way. So I guess it depends on what the objective is to define it as being better. Like better gameplay. I mean, it's different. It's all based on preference. I mean, there's a reason all three of us have preference on a different one.
Yeah. Well, my question really is, does nostalgia play a role in that for you too?
I mean, yeah, I definitely enjoyed the first one. It's probably the one I played the most of out of them.
I concur. I actually am a tiny bit nostalgic for the first one.
Which is fair.
I mean, it's the only one that I had played before the Reignited trilogy.
Yeah.
And I was nostalgic for it, but not overwhelmingly so. I think the first time I played it was when I was like 21 or 2.
Yeah, I played it when I was like, I don't know, 10, 11, some shit like that, whenever it came out, basically. But yeah, objectively better? Probably not. No, I'm sure it's got plenty of. It's a very simple game. Boil it down to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I know that you said you have to get going. Do you want to stick around or?
No, I'm a dip on out.
All right, and well, thank you for joining us for this topic here.
No probs.
We'll
thank
see
you
in
so
the
much
next
for
one,
being here
hopefully.
for this podcast. Yeah.
Sounds good. I will talk to you, friendo.
I would tip my hat. Well, that means
Tip of
it's
the
going
hat
to be
to you.
it's going to be the talk show that we always wanted, Jeff.
Oh God. Good luck.
Make sure to send your file over.
We're not done here, you guys.
Don't you worry, lad. I got it all.
Henry's got
set.
it figured out.
Yeah,
We can
All right, I'll talk to
actually-
you. Bye.
If we, all right, bye, Hen.
Love you. Bye.
Bye, bye.
All right,
I was
Dan.
going to
Well,
say we could end the top because we're about to finish the topic off.
we're almost done.
I was gonna
But
say,
I do
yeah.
want to, like, I kind of not exactly slammed on you guys' favorite games, but kind of called you out a little bit. I think it's my turn. So ask me about Super Mario 64, my personal favorite game of all time.
Oh, Mario. How many mushrooms does this man have?
I'm Mario, and that's Luigi Mario.
It's the spaghetti. It's the spaghetti. So for Mario 64, for me, objectively, being an objective person that honestly I have not played and beaten the game. I haven't. I've gotten into Mario Galaxy 2 before I got into 1. And 2 was amazing because I beat 2 and I see Rosalina for the first time. I didn't know she was even part of the games. I was like,
oh, you poor soul.
Who is that person? She must be like the queen of the universe. That's cool. And I played the first one and I'm like, oh, she's just the main part of the game. I'm like, she was a main, but she's nowhere in 2.
She's at the very end.
And at the very end. But she's only in the very end if you do the ultimate hardcore. You were there for that.
No, that's not the case. Rosalina shows up at the end, in the end scene after you beat Bowser, regardless of your completion. But
Right.
she only, like, there's a special cutscene that happens if you've 100% completed the game.
Right.
Anywho, Mario 64.
Mario 64, objectively, I would state it to be one of the founding fathers of platformers. And one of the ones that really got the platforming genre off to a great start. It showed that you don't have to create games where the moveset style has to keep changing, where just you need to have different like combat moves, need to have different ways to handle things. The team that made that game was, well, without Henry, I don't have this constant white light because his like portrait is just white on my face.
Yeah.
I can fix that, but
Don't worry about it.
In the land of, I would say, video game nostalgia, being an analytical person, it is huge. It is one of the Big Daddy badonkadonks. Because after that game, everyone was like, this is game. This is how game should be. Why no more game not like this game? And it sort of emphasized the importance of mobility and reactivity. That sounds weird. Responsiveness. There we go.
There you go.
And the importance of it in a platformer and what it can do for a platformer. Games before that tried to do that genre were either 2D, like 2D Mario, which, mind you, 2D Mario, after it came out, a lot of people were like, well, we can do this, but better. Why can't Mario do this? And why can't Mario do this? And Mario still stayed because Mario's moveset didn't need to be changed. How Mario's moveset was applied is what needed to be changed. And so more and more games were just created, putting Mario in unique situations. So for 64, I would state it is revolutionary. Now, would I say it's my personal favorite? I've never sat down and beat the game. Could I get a ROM hack right this second for free? Yeah. Would Nintendo probably put me on their blacklist? Yeah. But I could easily, go and play it, but I don't actively seek it because right now, these days, I typically play games that are, I'm going to say first person and just usually response, a heavy requirement for reaction time rather than planned readiness. Like a speedrunner typically needs really good not reactive thinking, but good quick thinking and planning to keep a run going, but also to understand exactly the route the run must go. Because there are some games which they're like, this is the route we must go. However, there's a chance the enemy will spawn here instead of here and screw the whole run over. Or
I agree with that.
have to do this, and you have to plan ahead. Whereas me, personally, I enjoy games that require reactiveness, which are more games that are a little bit more shooty, where I'm like, I got to go here to prepare for this. If there's something here, I'll react. If not, I will advance forward and do this. I'm not really going for a speed run as much as trying to figure out the most effective route, which turns it back around to me being how I am with my analytical nature. And I'm realizing I'm talking too much because my mouth is going dry. So,
all right. Well, so here's kind of the point that I'm trying to get across with this question.
So, what is your opinion of Mario 64, Jeff? With all of your gameplay, in fact, be putting yourself on the board for Mario speedrunning officially.
I think I took the 429th slot for not officially. I'd never posted it, but just timing my run, I came in like 429th place globally for my 16-star run.
So the top for your 16-star run, you're in the top 500 in the world.
Yeah.
Out of how many people?
How many people bought the game? Let's check.
Oh, that's actually a good question. I was going to say how many people in the world.
Super Mario 64 sold 9.8 million units.
So out of 9 million people, you placed top 500.
Yeah. Unofficially. Anywho, the point of that is I'm pretty well acclimated to the game. So trying to put on my... Well, you know what? Let me put on my nostalgic hat for a second. So I just played and beat the game again this last week. And I ran through every level, got every star. You know, I was having a good time. I remembered a lot of good times I had with the game. I remember being like, oh man, this place blew my mind when I was a kid. Now I can just tear through it. Or like, I remember when I was a kid trying to figure out how to do this trick here. Or like, a lot of nostalgia in that game right there. And I remember, there was one level that I never wanted to play much of because I was like Shifting Sandland. There's a bird there that can steal Mario's hat. And when the bird steals Mario's hat, Mario's defense goes down by a little bit. Like he'll take more damage from falls and enemies and stuff. And I remember as a kid never wanting to play that level. And if I did play in it and lost the hat and died, I would be like, okay, now I'm out in the castle and I don't have the hat anymore. I got to go back in there and get it, but I don't want to because I'm scared. I remembered that. But that is not the metric on which you should base a game. And objectively speaking, even I feel like my experience with the game clouds me a little bit because I see a lot of the complaints a lot of people have with the game. Like the camera sucks. The movement is archaic.
Camera, yeah.
The movement is archaic and hard to get used to.
Why
do you get kicked out of the level when you get a star? Like these sorts of complaints, I understand, but I personally don't have a problem with because I played the game when I was a kid, got to pretty good status when I was just a kid, and now I would label myself as a Super Mario 64 expert. Not like a flex or anything, but just I've played the game so much, I know every single in and out of that game. And I have absolutely no problem with the camera to a certain extent. I have no problem with the movement at all. Like, in my opinion, Super Mario 64's is the most fun and best controlling Super Mario 64 3D game, or Super Mario 3D game. Like, no other game comes close. Well, Odyssey comes kind of close, but no other game touches what Mario 64 does, in my opinion. But that's largely because I played it so much as a kid. I'm just super experienced with the game. I can heed other people's complaints about the controls. I understand why people get frustrated, but those things don't bother me at all. And as a result, Mario 64 is my favorite game. Odyssey came in second, but it was a distant second. So, do I like Mario 64 so much because I'm nostalgic for it? If I came to Mario 6, I'm sorry, I have one more question to ask. If I came to Mario 64 now and played it for the first time here, 2021, would I still love the game as much as I do? Or would it be relegated to an archaic 3D platformer that was great to set the foundation, but ultimately falls flat and doesn't live up to the other games in the series? And I've thought about this a lot, but I can't come to a conclusion. I don't know where I would fall. But I do think that since I have all those experiences as a kid, it does cement the game as being better in my mind because of that nostalgia and those childhood memories. I'll let you talk now.
Okay. I like this thing where every time I go to speak, I always lean forward, and then I'm going to speak now. Then I lean forward, and then I lean back when I choose not to. Works good on camera. Compared to Adam, who's just I have something to say. Anyway, I won't crap talk our podcast. We do put a lot of love and effort into it. Could I say he should work on his altruism a little bit? Yes.
What was the point that you were going to get at, Dan?
So this would have been really nice if Henry was here, because Henry was huge into the Monster Hunter franchise, and this is going to be part of this example. I would say that nostalgia, to an extent, is also a learned behavior due to practice and repetition. Some games that I have nostalgia for, the reason I have nostalgia for the Spyro 3 is I have practiced the game to the point where I know where everything is. I have played it to the point of high familiarity. I can make some of the flutter jumps first try, some of the complicated ones, which one of them you have to go on top of the freaking castle to get an extra life, which that's not a fun flutter jump. That's a weird, we need to get all the gems kind of challenge. And the games that we've invested and practiced a lot, I feel tend to generate a decent amount of nostalgia. Now, I was going to use Monster Hunter as an example, because for me, Monster Hunter, I enjoy it. I enjoyed the journey I had, starting out with shit equipment and becoming the Lord of Tanks with a gun lance, just raining hell upon the monster that I'm fighting. And just that journey in itself, that nostalgia felt great. And that's kind of sort of how that nostalgia develops. It's not from games which were like, dun, 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 one and done, because those ones we were just like, hey, cool. It's the ones that we went back and went, wait, I bet you I can't beat this game with one hand. Or I bet I could beat this game faster. Or it's the only game I have. Let's see if I can have some fun out of it. It's the nostalgia of the kid picking up the stick and saying, this is more than a stick. This is a staff. This is a wand. This is a gun. This is my crutch. This is my pencil. And it's seeing more and investing more into it. And as a child, that open-mindedness is a beautiful gift to have, which is why I pray to forever and ever I never fully lose it. I know I've lost bits and pieces of it. I'm not a child anymore. I've grown up in a world that is harsh and violent. But that nostalgia came from the fact that I played games. I was like, I would just sort of join that world and be like, I know this game inside and out. This is home for my mind.
That's surprisingly deep. I was just kind of hitting on it from the angle of I like this game good, but I'm nostalgic.
But think about it, Jeff. Like, you've played Mario 64 to death, and there are people that go
1,000 times.
But now think of it. You've played that game, you've invested in it, you've practiced the jumps, you have practiced the movement combos to the point where you're a top 500 speedrunner.
Yeah. Unofficially.
But top 500 on a site that has about, I'm guessing, 10,000 runs.
Oh, probably more.
Probably. It's probably like top 10,000. They don't keep too many. I'm guessing they shove the bottoms off. But, you could become an official top 500 speedrunner. Now, we go to games like, League of Legends, which for you enjoyed it, you were nostalgic for it, you hated the community for it, and that toxicity never changed. And so for you were like, this isn't me, this isn't my game, and so you left.
See,
but do you have some nostalgia from the effort you've put into League? Even though it was horribly frustrating at times.
I don't think from the game itself. I think that the nostalgia that I have around that game, is from you guys. It's the one game that we all played together for a few years.
Oh yeah.
To
be
honestly,
honest, getting Adam, whatever game Adam was going to get invested into, was going to be the game of the group.
I honestly never derived as
Could
much
not get
enjoyment
that
from the
going.
game as you guys did.
True.
I
knew that too. You
And,
were
like-
not a RPG player at all.
It's a MOBA It's a MOBA game.
Whoa.
But
Role playing is Garen all the time. Demacia.
Demacia. But the
Did you hear
nostalgia
about
that I derive from
Demacia?
that game isn't from the game itself. It's from the experiences I had with you guys. And that could really fall to any
Aw.
sort of game that we played together. League of Legends,
So
it was a toxic experience because not only was the community, like it's well known that League of Legends has the most toxic fan base.
I wouldn't quite say that. It's close. It is close. The
Well, it's
land
up
of
there.
salt. The land of salt is where it resides. But you
It's
want
one
the
of
most
those big
toxic,
salt factories.
you go straight to Call of Duty because that is. Whereas League of
Well, that's
Legends, you
true.
feel restricted. Well, League of Legends, you feel restricted in what you're able to do because your character can only do a limited number of moves compared to your opponent. Call of Duty, it all comes down to your capabilities and what your opponent is doing. This afternoon, I played it, and I will state I enjoyed myself at times, but then I kept hearing people that were just, they had words to say as they were getting destroyed by a person who just quickly pulled out a sniper rifle, shot him in the foot, and he bled to death and died instantly.
I guess my point is that like it wasn't just a toxic experience for me because of that fan base, but also for the fact that one, it wasn't a gameplay loop that I myself enjoyed, and two, as Adams noted before, I'm a competitive person, and I got way too competitive with League of Legends to the point where, yes, I'm not enjoying the game, but I want to get good at it because I play it with my friends. Man, that was not a good experience.
To be honest, though, we were all bronze players.
Oh, yeah, we all... we sucked.
But what was funny
We had some good
we
moments.
sucked less than my brother. To be honest, you know what's funny, Jeff?
Hmm.
You know what lane Adam has played at a silver to gold level of performance?
Top lane?
When I ran it. Yeah. Adam's top lane, when I ran it through an analyzer, he plays at a gold level when he plays Urgot top lane. All of his AD carries, bronze, silver, even iron. The problem is just he gets so scared in bot when he has to play one of the squishier challenge, one of the squishier he plays a squishy AD carry that he doesn't trust himself. He doesn't know exactly if he's going to do what needs to be done. He doesn't trust he's going to push the right button.
So
in
I don't
top
want to
lane,
get
when
I
he's
don't want to get
tankier,
too deep into this.
I know I'm talking about my brother and personal things, but
Well, it's not that, but it has nothing to do with the topic.
but it comes down to nostalgia. So what you just said, Jeff, is for you, your nostalgia. What was funny was it wasn't the game. You got nostalgia through the game with us.
Yep.
Your memories were with us.
Dude, there was a specific memory that I have.
Because you invested and practiced and enhanced in our friend group.
Dude, there was...
Just like the games you played.
There was a specific memory I have. I remember Tyler, Adam, Henry, and I played it more than you could at that point. And
yeah, I think I was in college.
We were all in college.
Right.
But we ended up getting to level 30 ways before you did. Level 30, for anyone who doesn't know, used to be the requirement for getting to ranked. I don't know if it still is.
Still is.
So you had to get to level 30 to be ranked.
They changed the rewards, though, so that when you get to level 30... We
wanted Daniel to get to that point with us, but he was only like level 10 or 9 at that point. I remember I logged into his account. Dan, I remember I logged into your account, and you only had mid laners. So I played... I remember I played a game as Annie, mid lane, level 10 or 9, and I was going up against the Jin Zhao, and like I was destroying him, and I thought, like, what does this person think? Like there's a level 10 Annie mid lane who's just kicking his butt. How must that feel?
Burn, baby, burn, disco and burn. What's really funny is Annie there actually is a professional master player that
Annie-bot.
only plays Annie. Yep. Legendary Annie bot.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's doing it. No, he might do it this season.
But the point is, like, I did develop that that nostalgic experience from League of Legends, despite the fact that the game for me holds no nostalgic ties. But I guess to get back to the point that I was trying to talk about, it seems like both you and myself, my favorite game is Mario 64. I know Spyro 3 is one of your favorites, but a good portion of the fact that we hold those games so near and dear isn't because they're objectively the best games ever, but because we're nostalgic for them. And really, I haven't nailed down whether or not I would think the same if I came to that game now, and I don't know about you.
I can state that there are games that nostalgia, a concept hit me, and I played the crap out of it, fell in love with the game, and then someone said, I'm going to do something that is nostalgically beautiful. Like, I'm going to do this game, but I'm going to do it better. They threw it out and said, would you play this game? And I lost my shit to the point where, of all the games on Steam that have appeared casually and been like whatnot, I've just looked at and been like, I might buy it when I'm having a rough, day, or when I'm sad, or I might buy this when I, want to. Basically, buy it on an off day. You know what I'm saying? Not immediately invest in it. There's one game in my history, which even Anthem, I doubted it for a while, thought it was a really good idea, and bought it. That was a horrible idea because false advertising was so bad that technically a criminal charge should be put against them because they advertised a completely different game. Moving on. So Risk of Rain came out. Your sister played Risk of Rain with me. Mm-hmm. I loved the game. Simple concept. 2D scroller shooter with randomized loot. And the randomized loot, the important part was there was no direct buff to damage. There was never an easy out. It was all unique ways to survive and then unique damage increases. Now, I would state that there's but there's crit and there's attack speed. Yeah. Attack speed isn't damage. Attack speed is how fast you can apply that damage. Everyone has a different attack speed. There are multiple different characters. Everyone had a different playstyle. One of them was a sniper that would shoot like once in a frickin' blue moon with a reload mechanic. You know what attack speed did? Sped up his reload mechanic. It didn't. Everyone had a different one, so it kind of changed everyone's damage. Moving on. I heard a notification from the developer at I Hope Studio. I was casually going through Steam, and then someone said, "Hey, a thing came on the Steam store. It says, you liked Risk of Rain. Yeah. Do you want Risk of Rain 2? Pulled out my card immediately, bought the game, put it into my library in 2 seconds or less. Because I literally looked at the game, immediately saw what they were trying to sell for. They kept the entire game loyal to itself, except it was 3-dimensional now. I was like, done, sold. This is a perfect concept, and this is the shit I talk about. I'm getting it. Buy. There was no thought. Nostalgia literally just went, this is what I've preached about in video games. Click, boom, buy. And you know what? What was hilarious was after I bought it and played it for like 3 months, that game freaking hit the high. It just went, bing, and it peaked for a solid 3 months of people just playing Risk of Rain 2. And people loved it. And they said it was a good game. And then it died down. Because Risk of Rain 1, it didn't hit too well. But I loved the concept, and I knew it could go somewhere. Second 2 hit, nostalgia took over. And I'm like, this is exactly what I want from the game. Grabbed it, bagged it, and ran with it.
Actually, that's a pretty good lead into my final question for this topic. I want to ask you. We've talked about games that were nostalgic.
Yes.
So games that we were nostalgic for in our childhood.
Poor Jeffrey.
It's clear what the nostalgic influence does for us on those games. Obviously, we like it a lot more than some people that are coming to the series might. Like Spyro 3, for example, you absolutely love it. I'm not so hot on it, but yeah. And same could apply with Mario 64. Here's a different angle, though. What about how that nostalgia influences your thoughts on newer games in the series? Say, for example, does my nostalgia for Mario 64 influence what I think about Mario Galaxy, Mario Odyssey, Super Mario 3D World?
I will state that all things that we personally love have taught us what we should love. That sounds like a strange quote, though it explains this entirely. Dan, what do you love? I love games that are competitive. I love things where you just pick up and shoot. What you got's what you have. You got to work with it. I've always been a survivalist specialist. What games have you got? Hey, I used to play 7 Days to Die forever. And now, to this day, I still buy games and go, this isn't as good as 7 Days to Die. Go back to 7 Days to Die. Pick up another one. It's got some good mechanics that I might want to see in 7 Days to Die. Our original games gave us a baseline on what to judge things by. Because what's funny is there are games that I've played as a child that I was like, oh, I love Croc and the Legend of Gobos. And then moving onward, I was like, well, imagine if Crash Bandicoot had tank control. Imagine if Spyro had tank controls. And I didn't realize that until I had games to really base it on. So when I say nostalgia affects what I expect from games, yeah. There are games that I've played that I've gone, this is fucking brilliant. This is an 18+ stream, right?
It doesn't matter.
We have to censor that. Shh. Shut up! Beep, 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 beep. So there were games in which I went, I love this concept, and this is beautiful. And then companies would not pick up on it. And I'd be like, why? Why would you not pick up on it? This was in this game, or this concept was great. Games that, I was just playing a game where I was like, this concept, why did they not? Hold on, I gotta look at my recent games tab. Nope, I just want to see recent games. Genshin Impact. This is where it hit me. Genshin Impact. I can just the important thing about that game was the accessibility of the map and the teleportation system. It was a game which was like, hey, oh no, I remember what it was. It was Neon Abyss. That was it. 2D roguelike shooter. Really simple. You go through rooms, you shoot stuff. You have to go back to sometimes because there's a branching path you missed. Things like that. And then I compared it to Enter the Gungeon. And because of my nostalgia, I loved Enter the Gungeon. Never beaten it, though. Hard as balls. Because they want you to use a dodge mechanic to dodge bullets. There's no, oh, you can dodge this. No, you have to time it perfectly. My ADHD would go, and I'd just, die to something random. Like, oh, a bird slapped the crap out of you. Bye, Dan. It's like keel over. But in the Enter the Gungeon, their map system worked like this. You hit tab, and if there was a portal spot, which was a circle, it was actually the magazine of a Magnum. It was the 6-shell holder. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the 6 in a circle. Yeah, that's where their teleporters were. You could click anywhere on the minimap and immediately teleport to that spot. You couldn't teleport to rooms without it. You couldn't just be like, I know where there's a room here. You had to go to rooms that had that. and you could actually go on the map to teleport back to where you were. So you could actually go back to where you were and also go to other spots. So you could like teleport here, go to the shop real quick, jump back to where you were and keep going. What did Neon Abyss do? Neon Abyss, new game, sort of a cyberpunk gun game where you, as you enhance your gun, it gains more damage, but it gains different attributes. Very interesting. I recommend a look into it if you like things like Binding of Isaac, if you like things like Enter the Gungeon. I recommend looking into Neon Abyss. Don't take it for what it is. If it's something you like, go for it. It's not a magical pony. It's not one of those games that are like, whoa. But one of the funny things was their teleportation system, different, very different. And it's almost the same style of game. How does its system work? You have to be on a teleporter, and you can teleport to another teleporter. There was no instantaneous go from here.
Mm-hmm.
So my nostalgia from playing this game, literally just the map system. I was like, why did they not incorporate it here? This made mobility between the stages really easy in this game. In this game, I have to always backtrack to a main room. Now, what they did for that one is every time there's a special room, they put a teleporter right before it, which was a godsend. That is good design. It's so you're not teleporting to a place to go through a blank room to get to a boss. You always have to go to a teleporter room, then you can enter the boss. Go here, shop. Go here, arcade. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was no, here, go through 3 doors, hit the boss. You forgot something, go through 3 rooms, hit the teleporter. It removed lag, which was good design, but I still say it could be better because of my nostalgic experiences of just dealing with so many of those different games. And that makes me biased. Like for you, Jeff, what I'd say would be the interesting time was when, for this channel, for Volatile Upgrade, when we all played New Super Mario Bros. Together.
Super Mario 3D World.
Super Mario 3D World. And you and Michael were freaking demons. We had max lives that we ran out.
Yeah,
Just half the time was just because we had to catch up. Bubble power. If you don't know what we're talking about, go ahead and watch our YouTube Volatile Upgrade. We had a roaring good time with that. And but in the end, Jeff and Mike would just blast through the levels. They were like, all right, let's get this done. And me and Tyler were just in the back as Princess Peach and
either Luigi or Rosalina, depending on the time of the playthrough.
It was Rose, yeah. It was, I was Princess Peach and he was Luigi. We were slow as everything. We could not, there was no way we could even keep up with your character. Because the characters weren't designed equally. They were all designed attributically different.
Yep.
I don't even think that's the word, but we'll go with it. And that game, we had a good time. But personally, for all of us, we were just kind of like, we got that chore done. Now all the dishes need to be cleaned. It didn't feel, it really didn't feel too nostalgic just because there wasn't a lot of elements added. It felt kind of, well, for me, because you were speed running it so fast, it's like I never got a chance to really explore these elements. Also, funny thing for me, what kind of killed me on that game was the timer. I was like, why is there a timer? Can't I just enjoy this?
So I'm gonna cut in here.
Go ahead.
Mario 3D World is a good example of a game that a lot of people look down upon, and I feel because it is too different from what they have experience with. I think Mario 3D World is fun, but
I enjoyed it.
It pales in comparison, in my mind, to most of the 3D Mario games, and especially Mario 64. And I do think that a large portion of that is because I have a nostalgic attachment to the open 3D sandbox sort of Mario game that Mario 64 is.
See, I find that interesting that your fan base has, even you, I don't want to say worship, because they don't. But they definitely enshrine the beauty that is Mario 64.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And
easy
for
for us to
me-
put it on a pedestal.
Right. And you're just like, this is our greatest achievement. It's a gold bird of Feronia. And I'm looking at you going, it's a fucking gold bird. Yes, but no one can make a gold bird quite like this gold bird. It's a fucking... I can make a platinum bird. I can make a special... But it's not the same as gold bird. Which... Are you guys insane? All hail the bird. Bird is gold. Gold is good. What? And I found that interesting because, like, Nintendo would produce things where they're like, hey, let's try this. We're going to try a new concept. We're going to go back to the old Mario, see how they like it. We're going to do this. And nothing they have done has even aimed until Odyssey. I think Odyssey really, they actually, like, tried to hit it on the head where they were like, wait, let's go for this nostalgia. But they never really targeted it. They kept targeting things that were like it, and it's kind of like the world's biggest tease. Because all these other... Well, hold on. All these other companies, like Sega's hilarious. Because Sega went really wide. Really, really wide. Mario kind of kept it in the ballpark. Where Sega's like, hey, you wanna do some crazy games? You wanna do some stuff? You want Sonic with a gun? Got you.
Let's turn Sonic into a werewolf. Hey, we got you.
A werewolf. Hey, we got you, man. We got that werewolf serum in the back of the car, you know? Just put that rubber band on that bicep and oh, it was so like, what? Why would you do that? And then what's funny is you look at Mario, Mario 64, and they kind of did the same thing as Nintendo. They were like, okay, well, let's reproduce this. Oh, we don't like that you threw a new spin on it. We don't like that he has a water cannon. It's cool. It's a good game, but we just want more Mario 64. Are you sure you don't want Mario 2D? No. Are you sure you don't want Mario RPG? Well, we appreciate this, and we like Bowser's Inside Story, but could you please stop? Well, fine. I guess you could have Mario Odyssey. Oh my god, a game that's like Mario 64. This is amazing. It's not as good as Mario 64, but it's amazing. And then the ultimate question, why is it not as good as Mario 64? Oh no, because we have additional things we can work with, like Cappy. You what? Yeah, you added too much into the game. Could you pull it back a little bit and make it harder for us? Kind of like an even trickier platformer, but with the original mechanics. You just want the hard mode of Mario 64? We will pay you $5,000 if you can do this per copy. That's so much money.
In your kind of funny Daniel way, you did sum up pretty much the Mario 64 fan base's thoughts toward the Mario series.
This is nice, but when the fuck are you gonna make Mario 64?
We have Mario 64. We hold it as being like the kind of gold standard of what a Mario 3D platformer
Did you say
be.
gold crane?
The gold standard. And I feel like I do fall into that trap of like a new 3D Mario game comes out and I immediately compare it to the game that I'm most nostalgic for, Mario 64. Is it as good as Mario 64 in this respect? Why is it not as good in this respect? How can I justify having Mario 64 still at the top? Should I be doing that? Nostalgia there, my man.
No, what's really big nostalgia for you, especially Jeff. This will hit you. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. But so how'd that Yoshi Brawl doing for you?
The what?
Mario, not Mario Brawl, but Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Now, we want to talk about nostalgia affecting us. Whenever they come out with a new game, those devs go, we need to balance these characters. And the entire fan base goes, what the fuck did you do with characters?
Here's the thing with Brawl, though. Like,
what happened with Meta Knight? He was a death machine. Now he's sad sword man.
Here's the thing with Smash Bros. Brawl, though.
What did you do with Ice Climbers? What did you do with Fox? What did you do with this? What did you do? I am happy, though, that they not only... I wouldn't say you didn't get hit as badly with this. Because Yosh got some respect.
Yosh got better in Ultimate and 4, so I can't.
Right. Like I said, Yosh got respect. But there were a lot of characters which people, some of the heavy hitters that they came out with, that they went, this isn't right. This isn't great. You damaged what I loved. And they took it personally. Because their nostalgia had set a standard that objectively, Nintendo was 100% objective with the game development, whereas their crowd base was entirely emote. Yeah. Nintendo, we need to balance the characters and make it fair for people to take this game seriously and not allow people to do really dumb stuff like the Meta Knight Infinite combo that makes them an SS tier for doing nothing. That's not fair. People learn to work around it, but it still wasn't fair. But still, this was the objective of it. Now the player base are saying, how dare you do this to us? You're changing what we loved about the game. You're changing our movesets. You're changing how I spent. And usually it's a time investment. That's where most nostalgia, I feel, is found. It's from a memory where investment was about to be put or investment has been made. Where they just went, I spent 200 hours on this game. And now I got the newest one to sort of keep the legacy alive. Why did you change this character? And also what was really nice is Nintendo handled that decision like a pro. They said, hey, we're going to allow you to customize your movesets so that it's however you want it to feel. Or was that only the Mii's?
No, in Smash Bros. 4, you could customize each character's moveset.
I thought I heard you talking about it, where you're like, oh, Yosh can get his old ground pound back, or oh, Yosh can get this moveset.
So,
I'll let you go ahead.
So you would think that for me, Smash Bros. Brawl would be my nostalgia happy place because that was my first Smash Bros. But it's not. And that's an interesting case where nostalgia doesn't win me over. Like I have a lot of enjoyable experiences and memories playing Smash Bros. Brawl with you and with the guys. Well, I remember one specific combo I did on Henry once. And we were playing, I think you were playing Wolf, I was Yoshi, Henry was Jigglypuff. I remember
I was playing Snake.
Maybe you were playing Snake.
I always was playing Snake.
But I had I remember I had the Samus badge, the Metroid badge that let you do the screw attack.
Oh,
and
no.
I jumped into Henry's screw attack, and just kept hitting him. And then I hit him with an up A and killed him. He's like, the F is this? And I remember that. And then I remember one time you and I were on a school field trip and we were at a hotel and
Bjorn! Bjorn, that dumbass!
Poor Bjorn. He was like, I'm pretty good at Smash Bros. I think I could take Jeff. I'm like, oh, all right, well, go ahead and choose your character. He picks Ike, and I pick Yoshi. I'm like, all right, go ahead and pick your stage. And he picks Corneria. And I'm like, okay, may the best man win. I ended up 3-stocking him and didn't even get to 100% damage. And
I remember that, and Bjorn just looked at it and went, okay, and just walked away, and then you and me just fucked around
back to what we were doing
the entire night. Yeah, but
the point of
we
that
don't
is
know
like,
what we're doing. Jeff does, but
I have nostalgic memories from it, but it is nowhere near the top of my Smash Bros. List. That is definitely
funny?
An example of nostalgia not winning me over, which is interesting.
I've said this to death, but I feel that at the end of the day, for nostalgia like that, it came down to nostalgia, I feel, is created from an investment. And for us, it was the investment that we really gave each other throughout high school, throughout college. We were, both you and me are still great friends, even though you have a baby, probably another one on the way.
Not yet.
Not yet. The crane hasn't come.
We're biding our time, my friend.
We're waiting before we summon the child in this world of pain. Why did the light go red? Oh no. So, but yeah, our investment in each other and this friend group is truly a nostalgic experience. And we tend to associate games with our friends. There are games which we look at and go, this was shit, but I remember when I played with someone. Yeah. That happens to me quite a few times where I look at a game and go, I played this multiplayer for, I remember 7 days. 7 days hits me like this. That game can be a pain in my ass, but I used to be in PvE servers, and I used to designate myself as the class that no one wants to play. So I was either A, hunter, B, miner, miner. I would be underground, tunneling, gathering munitions for bullets, and lead casings for bullets. I needed to get the fresh brass, things like that. And I used to tunnel so much, I'd tunnel networks everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just what I liked to do, passively. And me and this one friend, even though I was just literally, like, the game has zombie horde invasions, I was playing Rock Smacking Simulator. I could give no shits about the game, but I would just sit there, be in the Discord with the PvE and just sit there and just, and a lot of people that are in the heavy construction games will typically say things like, I built my greatest projects, but some of my greatest projects were on servers where I had people that had the same mindset as me that I could just be with. And I do think people really do make the gaming world alive and help allow for nostalgia to grow. Because between you and me, Jeff, we've played games together that we have nostalgia for that we don't even want to see that game again. Like, oh my gosh. There were games which... Vex I love. That was a bit of my childhood. That has a bit of nostalgia for me. Will I say it's a great game? No. Will I say it is a cool game because it gets so fucking dark? Yes. I think it was a cool game to hit at that time.
It was very indicative of that era.
Huge game. My friend Tyler, my cousin, Alabama. No. Not that kind of cousin. Male cousin. Not Alabama.
Dude, it's 2021. Let's go on.
Don't look at me that way, viewers. No, but I used to play a game with my cousin called Kaya and the Dark Legend. You say that game to my brother, watch what happens. You say that game, first off, 2 people you need to say that to. This is your homework. Ask about Kaya the Dark Legend to Tyler. Ask Kaya the Dark Legend to my brother. But what the game was is these cute little furry creatures are getting turned into werewolves, and you had the power to transform them back. Now, they're not just any werewolves. That's what makes this game a little bit on the... It was rated teen to older teen because holy crap, some of the fighting mechanics were rough. So there were wolfins, which were the scrawny little boys that would jump into cannons and start shooting you. Usual stuff. But you could sneak up on them. They weren't very smart. Then there's like the bruisers, which are these giant wolf beefy boys that you had to, once you had the power to really know what you're doing in combat, you could wail on those suckers. If not, prepare to get your ass kicked 6 ways to Sunday, Bob, and make sure you won't tail any teeth. And then there were the great, what were they? The Dark Legion. Oh, they were miserable. They're like the beefy boys, slightly smaller, wrapped in black tape where you could only see their blood red eyes, and they were basically their assassins, and they did not fight fun.
Dan, I don't want to cut you off too much, but we are over 2 hours in this podcast. Whoa! So we should probably hit the wrap up here pretty soon.
All right. Indeed, let's wrap up.
I gotta
say,
we
both keep hitting nostalgia. The nostalgia and nostalgia.
If nothing else, this nostalgic or this episode points to the effect that nostalgia can have on podcasters. But to kind of sum up,
when I was a boy.
I do too.
Oh my God.
But to sum up, nostalgia clearly carries a lot of impact in how we look at our older games, how we look at newer games. But it doesn't mean that you can't also be objective. It gets harder the more deeply rooted that nostalgia is, especially if it's tied to some very strong memory or goes back to your young childhood. Mario 64 may always be my favorite game. Spyro 3 may always be one of your favorite games. That might just be a constant because of nostalgia. But you can exercise objectivity as well. So, there you go. Nostalgia, very powerful force in the world of video games especially. The nostalgia is strong with this one, Daniel.
Me understand nostalgia, yes.
Yes, we do.
Ooh.
But, guys, I think that's going to have to wrap it up for this episode of the Gaming Corner podcast. Guys, thank you very much for listening in. Daniel, you have live streams, my friend.
Sometimes. I do have live streams sometimes.
Where do you do that?
Dance Warrior 777 at twitch.tv.com. twitch.tv.com.
Close. Twitch.tv/DanceWarrior777.
That's it.
What do you stream over there, Danny?
What do I stream? A bit of games, games I like, games I explore, and games I'm grinding. So I was doing Call of Duty for a while, which burnt me out, which is why there were a couple streams that I just didn't do, because I was just in bed going, oh god, my brain, I don't want to see another quick scoping freaking grenade throw.
Totally fair.
I made teeth.
And
Things I do when I'm bored.
And when do you stream, Danny?
Tend to stream Fridays over the nights. Although these days it's been kind of full wild, mainly just because my schedule has been crazy flux. So I've been streaming when I can, and some days I'm just like, well, I wish I had a better graphics card to stream with because my stuff looks like eh.
Well, there you go, guys. If any of that interests you, go over and check out Dance Warrior 777 on Twitch. And
please
myself,
come over. Please say hi.
Yeah, please.
And this over here is our. Yes, I can. And over here is my dear close childhood friend, the Yoshi Fanatic. You can find him on his YouTube channel, where he is making and creating videos on the Yoshi franchise. Surprise, surprise! But also some of his other more comical and analytical pieces on, are these games as good as they used to be? And now Jeff just recently came out with a new video, and it is
well, the video that you're referring to is Yoshi's Crafted World versus Yoshi's Woolly World. I did a video recently entitled, Is Yoshi's Woolly World really better than Yoshi's Crafted World? It's a deep dive comparison between those two games, discussing what's better about Crafted World, what's better about Woolly World, what's the verdict, which one's better. And I'm actually in the process of the planning stages for a new video. The video that I'm working on currently is, what would a 3D Yoshi game be like? It's going to be a little while.
Everyone keep it up on your horizons and subscribe to the channel, so when it does come out, you can be the first one to watch.
Yep. Well, thank you for that shout out, Danny.
I mean, you shout me out every week. For
sure, dude. Now, one more thing before we go, I want to remind the fans that we are here on YouTube at Volatile Upgrade. The Gaming Corner podcast video format is available here on YouTube, but if the audio version is more to your liking, you can check us out at the Gaming Corner podcast on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Twitcher, and a few other sites. So go ahead and check us out there if you guys want to. And if you guys have any questions you want to ask us in future podcasts, let us know, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. With that all being said, guys, thank you very much for tuning into this podcast. We'll catch you next time here on the Gaming Corner podcast.
Remember, everybody, to keep on dancing, and I hope to see you next time.